Ciao guys and welcome back to Yashi. Today with a more, let's say, psychological life advice video, completely different what I normally talk about, which is finances, housing and stuff. It still is related to all of that, but in a different way. Normally when you look at influencers in the, let's say, realm of finance, what they tend to talk about is saving advice, investing advice, put your money here, do this with your money, don't spend it here, don't spend it there. Today we're talking about another big factor that, in my opinion, at least with me, really helped me a lot with my finances, namely the finances of a community. Now, Italians are notorious for living with the parents for a long time, with the families for a long time. Now, compared to American standards, I did too until the age of 26. That's when my parents left and went back to Italy. However, I still kept the concept of living in a community. As per now, I live with my sister and her fiance, and I definitely have a lot of advantages of it. We live in a big house, so we still have privacy. I have an apartment down here, they have an apartment up there, but we see each other every day. We're never really alone, and I believe that with time we created a very good balance of being in community, but also having a privacy, doing whatever you want, and any perks of having a private life, which I don't want to talk about, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. With that said, we mentioned what influencers normally talk about. None of what they talk, though, is real general life advice that not only helps in finances, but in real life. What does it mean to live in a community? Community can be friends, can be family. Of course, you're going to start with family because that's who you're born with. Some of you don't have a good relationship with your family, which I understand. However, if you can, I always say try to improve it as much as you can. In some cases, you'll be surprised by how much you can get out of relationships with your family, not in an Alabama way, but I'm saying as a, let's say, brother, sister, and father, mother, or father, son, father, son. Sorry, I messed it up. Father, son, or mother, son kind of relationship. Now, what are the advantages of living and operating as a community, both either with friends, roommates, or with your family? Of course, you have the costs. Everybody talks about stay with your parents, stay with your parents. Number one is the costs. Number two, and this is, I believe, fundamental in America, you guys have the highest psychological issues in the world, highest amount of mental illnesses, the pressure rates is nuts. So definitely you have psychological advantages. Why? Because not being alone, which by the way is worse than smoking, apparently, according to many studies out there. And if you can look it up, I'm probably gonna leave also a link about this. You're not being alone. It definitely does not take as much of a toll as living alone, especially in the area of social media. It allows you to take more risks because you feel like you have your back protected much more than being completely alone. And it gives you, that's why it also gives you safety net to take those risks. Of course, they always have to be calculated. You're not gonna full on go into something without knowing anything. It gives you also a money multiplier. Living with a community, operating as a community, if people seeing how you're doing, what you're doing, in my case with real estate, and they like what you're doing, it is an actual money multiplier. Let's say you need an investment, you need money to do something. You have been working on a company, growing, and it's been going well. The people around you see it every day because you live in a community, and you're like, I need money. Those people are very likely to give you the money because they want to invest with you. You want to bring them up with you. You're building this kind of bond that, from also a monetary perspective, a growth perspective, also helps a lot, like a rising tide. You're not only lifting yourself as an individual and that your limit is just one, you're lifting everybody up by having a pool of money that you're investing all together. A skill multiplier too. When you operate as a community, every single person is concentrated on a few things. You have the plumber, you have the lawyer, you have the policeman, you have the construction worker. Everybody focuses on something and everybody can interchange, let's say, these skills. The perfect example I can give to you is the family, for example, of my mother or of my father. I'm talking about their brothers and sisters, where my father's family, we had a pediatrician, then literally helped all of the nephews, such as me, my sister, and all my, let's say, cousins to, first of all, be born, and secondly, become, let's say, grow sane mentally, physically, psychologically, because she gave all the advices to the different, let's say, to my mother, to my uncle, to my aunt, and everybody. Secondly, another one we have Complementarity, which again goes very well with the skill multiplier, because everybody has different skills and rarely everybody does the same thing. As operating as a community, you're operating, if you want to, let's say, describe it as an individual, you're operating as an individual that has much more skill sets compared to the average individual. First of all, because you have a network of people that does different things. And secondly, because you're living together or seeing each other very often, you're also acquiring some of those skills. So you're able to have a conversation in something that you're not really specialized in, but because you see it every day, you understand it much better. With that said, let's drop into, let's say, the main thing, which is what influencers tend to talk the most when it comes to, say, finance, which is the costs. What are the advantages of living as a community, operating as a community in terms of costs, and how much better off am I living like this compared to the average American who wants that independence, who wants to live alone? Well, the first one is, of course, rent. Everybody has been complaining about rent in the past couple of years. Rent is increasing, rent is increasing. Renting an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment in the area where I live in right now, is around $2,000 a month, which is a lot of money, especially if you want something nice. How much is renting a 7,000 square foot house, which is the one we live in, where, yes, I have my privacy because I have the downstairs apartment, they have the upstairs apartment, we still see each other, but if you want, we could actually live without seeing each other at all. Renting that pretty much costs us 1,500, even less than that, 1,500 a month. I'm putting 1,500 a month because I'm also putting in the fact that we're paying for a mortgage, but it's pretty much 1,500 a month, which is a $500 discount to live in actual luxury. This house is beautiful, this house is new, this house is huge, very huge. This is more of a 7 people family house, and we have it for 3 people. So the advantages are quite high because I'm living in a much better place for less than a 1-bedroom apartment. And that is the first thing. So you have a double advantage. Secondly, bulk food. When we buy groceries for everybody. We buy in bulk. We buy a lot of stuff. Think about all the dishwasher stuff, the washer dryer stuff. We're buying that in bulk. We then split it in stuff. I'm pretty sure that compared to living alone, by buying in bulk with discounts, and secondly, splitting those things that are being used, let's say, by everybody, without even talking about food, at least $100 to $200 of discount a month I'm getting out of that. Thirdly, for example, family, cable, phone, all of that stuff. Cable, we split it. Instead of paying those $200 a month, we pay probably $20 a month. Phone, same thing. We have a sub company of Verizon, and we pay $20 a month for unlimited everything, which is pretty good. So also there, I'm putting a $20 discount, but it could be much more than that. Car insurance. Instead of operating 5 different vehicles that are insured to one person each that has to pay their own insurance, we have 5 vehicles insured as a community to 5 different people, and we're saving hundreds of dollars each. I made the calculation of myself. If I was to, let's say, do it all by myself, I'm saving around $600 a year just in insurance, very easily. And lastly, of course, stuff like utilities. Let's say that the heating, cooling, the apartment that I own, the first one that I bought and rented out, costs around $150, $200 a month in terms of all of the utilities. In this house here, although it's much bigger, it is more, it is also a new, let's say, efficient system, but we still pay around $150 each to heat and cool this house. I know it doesn't make sense, but bigger house, proportionally, if you split it across people, is actually much cheaper. So the advantages, and this is like a conservative calculation, just by living as a community, I'm spending $1,250 less. Actually, this is a year, so I'll probably have to do 50 this. I'm gonna have to remove 600, so it's gonna be 700. I'm spending around $700 less than the average American that wants to live alone. And I'm doing this by simply living as a community. I'm being conservative here. I'm pretty sure that I spend much less compared to the average American, probably around 1,000. The fact is, if you can create yourself a little community, whether it is friends, whether it is family, you have a lot of benefits, not only in costs, but all of this, especially now. So to me, the psychology part is nuts. The fact that, PBD made a podcast a couple of days ago talking about how we have this epidemic of people living alone, solitude, how it is killing people, let's say, slowing down longevity, not doing a very good job. And living in community, on top of not being alone, gives you much more purpose of living because you want to help each other out. The perfect example I can give to you is my grandpa. My grandpa is 94 years old. He still talks to me. He still talks to the, let's say, younger nephews. He still has that purpose of teaching, of giving his way of life to the younger generation. And that is, I believe, one of the things that is keeping him alive and with a purpose to keep on going. And of course, it is a consequence of living in a community. We're being critiqued as the people that live with family, yet it is very interesting how many of the immigrants with the same kind of family concept that come to America in many cases are successful. Because instead of being all on their own, they know that they got the back of the family, of their community, of their friends, and they're helping each other out. And I see this every day because I do construction work, and I see the sense of community even among the colleagues that normally come from, let's say, foreign countries and operate as a community. My cousin is helping me out, my brother is helping me out, my son is helping me out, and I think it is a beautiful thing, and definitely has a lot of perks compared to being alone. The concept of being a lone wolf, I definitely do not believe in it. I think that it is not a beneficial thing. Of course, learning to be alone is good, but operating as a community gives you an unlimited potential to go up and to take risks. Guys, this is all for now. Let me know what you think. If you have questions about it, please leave it in the comment section below. I might do a video about it. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe and do it, and see you on the next video.